the Sons of Wonder in a goal where we teach what we know, but we spread what we are. He made his goal to be a positive force multiplier. For the 15 years, Diego had an opportunity to leading software engineering teams at Microsoft to ship hundreds of Xbox and Windows releases. I want to know more stories about that. It'll be pretty cool. For the 3.5 years, with the sense of higher calling, he led the Microsoft Global University recruiting and providing jobs to 35,000 students. So in 2020, Diego enthusiastically joined the Microsoft Developer Relations team with a goal to inspire creators across the planet to imagine and build a better future. CNET, High Tech, and HACR acknowledged his contribution in their respective influential Latinos lists. So with that, Diego, welcome. So we're so excited to have you. Before you start the panel, I really want to ask you a question. You have inspired me and many others. What sparks you every day? What gets you going?
Thank you, Chaitra, and hello, Women in Cloud. As you can see by my smile, I'm really excited to be here. Yeah, someone was mentioning the walls. Tracy was mentioning the walls. What gets me inspired is to nurture my sense of wonder. The world is a bit messed up, but it's also a wonderful place. And there's so much to learn, so much to, I don't have enough hours to read and watch and interact. So I think that when they say happiness is a choice, I do believe that we have to nurture that fulfillment. So that's what gets me going. I think it's a great challenge for me.
Thank you, Diego. I'm going to hand over the baton so you can actually facilitate a wonderful panel on inclusive economic opportunity. So with that, you can take it away.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to invite, before I just want to say, I am really happy to be here because it's a learning event. And at Microsoft, we're trying to ground our culture in the growth mindset, which is a continuous learning all the way through our life. So this really matches our mission of empowering, and really happy. And I was asked by Gina and Chetra to moderate a panel with three amazing people: Mazhar Mohammed, Corporate Vice President of Partner and Sales Experience; Cheryl Holiday, Senior Director of Procurement and Supplier Diversity; and Jaci Santos Shibao, who's a Tech Sales Strategy Senior Director, but she's also the chair or co-chair of our Women at Microsoft Employee Resource Group. So let's bring them all on camera. Welcome, team members. And Jaci, okay, we're all here. So I want to start by giving you the microphone and asking you to introduce yourself, who you are, but also, to save some time, what has been your experience of inclusion at Microsoft, your journey? So maybe a minute each. Why don't we start with you, Shara?
Sure. Thank you, Diego, and thank you, everyone at Women in Cloud. I'm so thrilled to be here. My name is Cheryl Holiday, and I have the privilege of leading our responsible procurement and compliance organization within the procurement function here at Microsoft. So in the simplest terms, procurement helps Microsoft buy stuff in a responsible way, whether it's PCs, digital marketing, or cafeteria services. Our organization works with thousands of suppliers across the globe to ensure that when they work on behalf of Microsoft, they do so with the same values, ethics, integrity, and standards that we ourselves hold ourselves to, including diversity and inclusion, sustainability, privacy, security, and ethical business practices. And when I think about inclusivity here at Microsoft, I deeply appreciate that we're on a journey where we value progress over perfection. We embrace inclusivity as a practice that allows us to learn and grow, like you said, Diego, even though we may not get it right all the time. And for me personally, every day, every interaction is an opportunity to foster that belonging and encourage my employees to embrace their authentic selves. Thank you.
Thank you, Shara. And Tracy is commenting. She said, what a great job for someone who's a shopaholic. So, and I also want to thank you for choosing the food that I eat in the cafeteria when I go to Microsoft. I appreciate it. Let's go with Jaci next. Jaci, tell us about you and your role.
Thank you, Diego. So I'm Jaci. I work in our Global Partner Solutions organization. I work with the sales and technical strategy. I've been Microsoft for 20 years, so I had the opportunity to learn a lot throughout these 2 decades. And I would like to talk a little bit about my role as volunteer in the employee resource group, Women at Microsoft. I am one of the co-chairs, and our work is to really create this space where gender representation is on point. So our ERG work with a community with 28,000 women. That's part of the many chapters we have in the company, really helping in building the community sense on career development, mentoring, coach. And we see this as a core in our culture. And our employees, they volunteer to support each other and do amazing things in our ERG.
Thank you. We're gonna talk more about the ERG, because this is something at Microsoft that you can do on top of your job that you get hired for. You can actually contribute in many ways to diversity and inclusion, employee resource group being one of the main options. Last but not least, Mazhar Mohammed, CVP of C+E. Tell us a little bit about your journey and yourself.
Thank you, Diego. Thank you, my fellow panel members, and thank you, Cheryl, for your leadership. I'm Mazhar Mohammed. I lead three major areas. So my boss, by the way, is Charlotte Yarkoni, the one you just heard from just now. So I lead the systems that enable our partners, all kinds of partners, the systems that enable the Microsoft sales force and allows them to sell, and the systems that enable the supply chains for Microsoft, our device supply chains, all our devices and peripherals and so on, and the supply chain involved in building out the Microsoft data centers. I feel very fortunate that I get to play in this space. It is definitely a very interesting space where I get to be in the business of really supporting and empowering an ecosystem that surrounds the Microsoft platforms and services. I'm also the exec sponsor for the D&I efforts in Charlotte's org, and I'm also the exec sponsor for the families ERG, where we're really championing the needs of families.
Thank you, Mazhar. And true story, Gina and I asked these folks if they wanted to be in this panel, and they said yes, like as simple as that. So they care, and it's as simple as that, to ask people, things. I want to continue. Question for the two women in the panel. Seems obvious, but I want to hear it. Like, why is empowering women important at Microsoft? And what have you noticed about our culture? Any change in that regard lately? Who would like to start?
I can start. So let me start talking a little bit about our mission. First, our vision in the ERG, because that's very important. Things have evolved over time, and being a gender ERG sometimes brings some bias. And we don't want to keep our allies out of. So we have Mazhar, we have Diego. So we want to make sure that everybody support each other. So the vision that we have is that all genders can thrive and can be successful in the company. So as part of our mission as a gender ERG, what we really want is that we can accelerate the culture journey, that through inclusion, equity, and representation, we can bring innovation and we can represent our customers. So I think that has been the biggest evolution, let's say, that the company start to recognize from an employee standpoint, the importance to have our customers represented in their workforce. So we can represent you as a customers when we are building new products, when we are discussing our strategies.
I love that, Jaci, and I agree. I mean, personally here at Microsoft, for me, or anywhere, when I feel empowered, I'm more confident. I raise my hand. I ask tough questions to drive clarity and progress. And and I, just like all of you, give diversity of voice. And collectively, we give diversity of voice. And like you said, Jaci, this diversity and representation reflects our global society and workforce. We continue to have great opportunity to help women feel comfortable harnessing their voices and to help shape our products, strategies, culture, and their careers. And I've had the pleasure of having amazing managers over my 14 years at Microsoft who did empower me, gave me confidence to raise my hand and use my voice. And I've honestly never been the same. So I can attest to how powerful that is. And this cultural transformation we're on, I think further encourages me to be my authentic self, use the voice I have, and help others do the same.
I love that, Shara, this idea of we are not here at Microsoft just to empower the planet, but also to empower each other every day at the office, you know, which we are part of everyone. So, you know, in Argentina, where I'm from, we have this saying that one hand washes the other, and then the two together can wash the face. So it's about that. And just about what you said, I love that you are taking an active role. So because we have the culture that we say, this is what we aspire to, but then you have an active role. You're in accelerating it. It's our job. All of us have to accelerate towards that. So I love that. Question for you, Mazhar. I want to know from you, what are you most excited about in terms of the innovations you're seeing at Microsoft in general, but then also specifically for women in terms of cloud and partnership with the marketplace? Like both answers I would love from you.
Sure, absolutely. You know, I think in her opening presentation keynote, Charlotte covered the breadth of what we're doing in our space, and it's, you know, it's really a lot of really awesome things. The one that's, you know, closest to my heart is the work that we are doing to really empower women-owned, women-led partners to be more successful in our ecosystem. And the way you go about it is, you know, you register as a partner in Partner Center. You give us information, you know, it's either an attestation or more additional information about yourself that allows us to recognize you as a women-owned, women-led business. And once you do that, then we, Microsoft, are doing everything possible to make sure that, you know, your business is more visible, you know, either in our marketplaces or when a seller goes into our their primary tool chain, which is called MSX. When the seller goes in there and they're trying to land a sale, then many times customers come in and say, you know, I want to be involved with a women-owned or women-led partner, you know, in this particular deal. And we make it easy for a seller to then discover that partner and bring them into the deal. So our goal is not just about, you know, having a badge or having, you know, people get registered so we have a registry of these businesses. Our ultimate goal is use that to then drive success. We want that ROI of that initial action to be super high. You know, once we know who you are, we want to drive as much business as possible. So that I would say in that whole list of things that Charlotte laid out is the one that I'm the most excited about and passionate about.
Thank you, Mazhar. And I love the engagement on the chat. I see Tracy, Gabriela, Gia, Kathy, Chaitra, Amber, Josie now join with the chat. I really love that engagement. I also like what you were talking about because I was very involved with that feature. But before we talk more about that, I think a great context for why this self-attestation is important for you, I think that Shara can actually give us great context because she works on supplier diversity. So tell us, Shara, why is supplier diversity important at Microsoft? And then we can connect it with this feature that we just released.
Sure. You know, I think, you know, in order to foster a diverse and equitable supply chain that represents and reflects the communities in which we live and customers that we serve, supplier diversity has to be there. Bottom line, diverse businesses bring innovative products, services, and solutions from a different societal voice that further completes and strengthens our Microsoft offerings, operations, and strategies. And in addition, what we find is diverse suppliers infuse competition into our supply base, making both their peers and Microsoft more agile and in turn more competitive. And so, Microsoft has great privilege and responsibility as a key contributor to the global economy, and embracing supplier diversity ensures we are stimulating economic growth and creating stability in underrepresented communities and diversity demographics, which is staying true to our mission to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more.
That's awesome. And this is now I want to connect the two things, because for the folks in the audience, just like Microsoft has supplier diversity standards now, so we want that diversity, many enterprises and governments have it too. For example, I collect these emails. I have an email from, I collect them because Gina sends them to me to remind me of the importance of this. I saw a few months ago an email from the city of New York to our sales team saying, hey, we want to do a partnership with you, co-sell with a partner of yours, but we have now some diversity, supply diversity quotas. So we need you to recommend, please, a woman-led business. And before this feature, we didn't have a good system to do that. We were doing it anecdotically. But now if you self-attest, if you show up, it's very simple. Gina doesn't even have to send me an email. Like our own sellers can just filter and find you. So it's about discovering you. One more thing, because Jaci mentioned how our employee workforce needs to match the world. And now Shara mentioned how our supplier needs to match the world. I know it sounds cliche. You probably heard it many times that we need a diverse workforce to really represent our customers, to reach. But I can tell you, in 20 years at Microsoft, I've really seen it. I've seen the difference between the products produced by teams that do not have diverse workforce and the ones that have, and it makes a difference. When we first shipped the first Xbox, there was not enough women on the team, and the controller, the shape of the controller was basically geared towards man hands, and we had to make changes to it. We would have caught that before if the team was more diverse. That was like 20 years ago. We're doing much better now. Okay, next question. Let's see, I have them here. I guess this question maybe for Jaci. I guess for all of you, but what assistance does Microsoft have available for women in tech, folks here in the audience? What should they know about their partner ecosystem?
So, Diego, before I answer this question, I would like to make a comment on what you said in terms of representation. And I see this, the product teams, anytime they are in testing, they ask the employee resource group, and we have 9 employee resource group to test. So they ask the women at Microsoft, they ask the accessibility team. So there is really this concern to make sure that what we are building, it's really gonna fit everyone. So just would like to complement that. So let's talk about the resources. The resources, and I'm gonna represent here the team that asked me to cover. It's what Microsoft is supporting Women Cloud through the Cloud Accelerator partners. So the first, we have the Build 2030 initiative. So really it's a call to action for Microsoft partners to accelerate innovation and demonstrate how they can be a change maker and have impact on D&I and some other categories that we have. The other part is the Partner Capital Fund. And I think this is important because this is an opportunity for the US-based partners to secure work capital with no or low interest to support your growth. The third piece is digital co-sell. And I saw in the chat a lot of you mentioning co-sell as a great opportunity. And here, I believe Chandra mentioned before the community PDM, marketplace, how you have your solution transactable in marketplace. And that connects with the diverse business attestation that we just spoke, that you can go and put in Partner Center, and it's going to be shown there. And the call to action here is that you learn more. I see we have the link in the chat, so you can also leverage all these resources.
That's great. And I see on the chat there's a lot of links being put there around Build for 2030 and this initiative. So please follow up. What you mentioned, the ERGs, and I saw someone in the chat saying how cool that the product teams check with the ERGs. And reminder, ERGs and employee resource group for people of certain affinities. We have one for Gleam for the LGBTQ community. We have Ola for the Latinos like me. We have, as you say, families, women. There's veterans from military. And at the beginning, it was just about making those people feel welcome and part of the company. But as they become more mature, now they became a resource for products to test things, you know. So for folks who are on different companies on the call, you know, like sometimes you have to look at the long term, and sometimes things start to pay off in the long term, but it's still worth doing.
Sure.
You want to say something?
I was just agreeing with you.
Cool. And now the next question, Safina on the chat says, hey, can someone put me in touch with how to get a job, maybe at Microsoft? So I would love to ask to give each of you a minute, and you can answer either of these two questions. One is, what advice do you have someone who wants to work at Microsoft? And this is not a recruiting event, it's really advice. Or once they are in the company, what would you recommend them to do to accelerate their growth and have impact? So whatever you're more comfortable with, because I worked in university recruiting, so I'm going to give more advice at the end. But I don't know, Mazhar, do you want to start, or Shara?
Sure, I can start. I would say, look, well, the first thing is Microsoft, we dabble in so many areas. You know, it's such a diverse set of problems that we solve as a company. My first advice would be, look, you know, you can land a job in working in Microsoft. I don't think that will be your high order bit. The real key thing you have to figure out is what is the problem that you're really kind of passionate about, and pick your passion and then go after, you know, that particular space in Microsoft, because what you really want to do is be very strategic about your career and really know 10 years down the road, what is it that you really want to be awesome at? What is the problem space that you really want to become a leader, an expert at? And so, you know, choose carefully, pick the right problem space, because over time, it's, you know, the more you progress through your career, you know, the harder it's going to be to just kind of switch pipes and stay and keep that momentum of your career. The other thing I would say, the simple thing is, pick a mentor. Once you join Microsoft, pick a great mentor. A great mentor can make such a huge difference in terms of helping you learn and grow through your career.
That's awesome. I'd like to hear from others as well.
Sure, I can take it. If you're an aspiring supplier, so I have that lens, I'll give you two pieces of advice. Create a professional network that builds allies that can advocate on your behalf in Microsoft. And just make sure that those allies are clear about your unique capability. And I'll say that again, unique capability, not 10 capabilities, but what is that one thing you do that sets you apart from anyone else? So do your homework, learn as much as you can about the functions across Microsoft, including their goals and challenges. And then, how do you use your unique capability to solve them? So when an opportunity presents itself, you can share that plan and address it. And then once you're here, continue to find ways to expand that network and evolve with the organization. You will have to stay resilient, I must say. And then second, as tech entrepreneurs and advocates, invest in strong data privacy and security practices. Use technical infrastructure and capabilities that put data privacy and security first. These are table stakes to win and grow business at Microsoft. Data is everywhere, and your ability to protect confidential and personal data when working on behalf of Microsoft is paramount. Those are my two things.
That's awesome. Anything, Jaci, you want to add?
So just compliment. First, I think you need to build your career plan one slide, and it's okay if you don't know what you don't know. Put the basic goals to what Mazhar said. Take your passion, take the problem you want to solve, put what your uniqueness there, and start from there. And as you talk to your mentors, you're talking with your network at Microsoft, probe, test, see what feedback you're going to get, how your skills can be transferable to existing roles. That's going to help you to also have some control where you want to land. And the other one that's very tactical, go to Microsoft Careers website and put alerts with the keywords of what you'd like to do. Then you can start receiving all the opening positions that will be posted. And then you can review the job description and you can say, okay, this is something that makes sense, or no, let me try something else.
I love that. I want to start by saying, Chaitra, you did not lie to me when you said that this community was very positive and supportive, because I am very impressed in the chat how much support people are giving to the panelists, to each other. It's really impressive. Not all communities are like this. And I think it goes to show that, like, if we get more women in position of power, presidents, CEOs, I think the world can actually get more positive, I think. Some things to add. I want to demystify a few things. I worked in recruiting. So as Mazhar was saying, only half of the people we hire are for tech roles. The other half are for anything else. Finance, legal, marketing, sales, a bunch of stuff. Also, half of the roles are only in the US. The other half are globally. So Microsoft is a US-based company, but it's a global workforce. And I just agree so much on what you said. Like, you talked about applying. Like, the first step, Safina, is apply, apply, apply. Of course, there's a good chance you won't get noticed. Companies like Microsoft get way more applications that we can hire. Microsoft hires like 30, 40,000 people a year. So as Mazhar said, you can get in, but you have to apply. And to get noticed, you have to network. So, by the way, I'm not playing moderator hat. I'm now playing panelist hat on this question. You got the network. The network is key. That's key. And today you're prioritizing networking. So I really congratulate you. You could be doing something else, and you're here. And then the persist. You talked about perseverance. You're gonna have highs. You're gonna have lows. 20 years at the company, it was a roller coaster, and that's what you can expect at Microsoft or any other tech giant company. I guess I'm going to throw one last question for each of you, and we can go in both directions. I mean, we talked about privacy, and I am seeing AI getting so good at things. There is this open AI DALI project that campaigns now, and I could see AI being used for good, but also not for good. So we could talk about that. Or I would also like to open the microphone to each of you to just leave the audience with one thing, one advice you would like to give them about career, about networking, about tech. So open-ended question. About AI or about anything you want? I'm making it hard for you.
I'll start with anything you want. And you might have heard a little bit in what I chatted about, but just use your voice. I encourage everyone to feel comfortable in using your voice. There is a reason, you are part of this ecosystem. So let's hear it. Let's hear from you. What can we do? What can we do better? How can we help?
Yeah, at the risk of being a bit inappropriate, use your voice, especially now in the US, about everything that's going on. Now is a time to use our voice as well. Jaci, do you want to?
Yeah.
Share
so I think believe in yourself. Be very intentional, plan, but follow through your plan and believe in yourself. You can do anything.
Yeah, if I can talk about that, so much in my career, it is 20 years, I looked for validation outside. I wanted my superiors, my bosses, to tell me if I'm good or I'm not good and how good I am. And the system was a little bit like this. Like 10, 15 years ago, tech companies like Microsoft were competitive. The culture evolved a lot. And it was a journey for me to start understanding that the best validation comes from inside. And once I did that, like my whole world changed. So with that, Mazhar, any last open-ended piece of advice for the folks?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I guess my advice would be work on the stuff that makes you happy. Work with people. Work on problems that makes you happy every waking hour, every day, and gets you excited every waking hour, every day. It's. I mean, there's a lot of people who kind of hunker down and power through stuff, saying, "Okay, I'm just gonna deal with this crap for a while because, it's gonna be awesome later on." And in my opinion, there's nothing in the end. In the end, you're dead. The journey is everything. And so do the stuff that's gonna make you have an awesome journey, because the journey is everything.
I love that. There's this quote: you can very easily fail at something you don't like. So at least if you're gonna succeed or fail, do it at something that you like.
You like
But
it?
I'll tell you, after 20 years, I still wake up Mondays with a smile, meaning I want to, and it's because I also, as you said, I'm very intentional about aligning my job to what I like. I don't take just on anything, anymore. It's okay at the beginning if you have to pay that price of, to get in. Safina was talking about getting in at Microsoft. You might compromise what particular role or team or technology to get in, maybe at a company. But soon you have to make that shift. Otherwise, you won't be able to sustain the happiness. Yeah. Well, we have just 2 minutes left. So is there any question from the chat? Now is the time. I saw a lot of support in the chat. I didn't see a question. I didn't open it for questions either. But if there's anything, this will be the time. If not, I have good news for you. Some of us will be there. Now we have a couple of demos, and then we have the tables. I will be hosting a round table. There are others from the panel who will be there as well. So bring your questions there. It's a more intimate conversation, a two-way conversation. And last thing, I would say, another plug for the feature we just released, which is your ability to self-attest on Partner Center. And then you will show up on our sellers tools. You're going to show up on our marketplace. It's a first step of many, but we're trying to be serious about this investment. So with that, thank you, panelists. I think it is amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to you, Chaitra.
Thank you, Diego. That was fabulous panel. So thank you, Mazhar. Thank you, Shara. Thank you, Jaci. A couple of things I took away, but before I say what I took away is, what were your takeaways and what is one action you're going to take for yourself? Go put it in the chat. Put the chat on fire. So here's what I learned from Sherry. Become empowered. It's your responsibility to become empowered. Why? You can feel confident. You can raise your hand, and also you can have your voice represented. And that's what Women in Cloud means every day. We want you to be empowered, speak up, use your voice, be well represented in a $7 trillion opportunity. And Mazhar, I love the whole thing is we have to be happy in the journey that we take. We are on a mission to create $1 billion of access. It's not easy. It is something never been done. So it's going to be tough. So we all have to hold our hands and have a fantastic journey. I want you to see a picture. We are at UN. We all are standing there and holding that we created that $1 billion access in an industry that was not possible. So we want to be happy doing that one too. And believe in yourself, Jaci. Totally, I agree with you. I personally feel is you need to invest in yourself. You can bet on yourself and you can do bold stuff. So if you look at the chat, it's on fire. I love it. Is find your passion, take a problem, want to solve, grow and empower. Fantastic. I learned this advice. Get clear on what your thought space or problem space you want to excel and find a way to use your unique gifts to solve that problem. Again, panelists, you did fabulous work. And Diego, you were fabulous. I think I'm going to give you an award, the happiest person on the planet. And that's what the Women in Cloud team has given you. That you are so happy and we want to hang out with you more often.